If we think about scuba diving, what images come to mind? Is it the beautiful reefscapes with lots of fish, eerie wrecks with an amazing story, or gliding effortlessly through the water completely weightless? What we aspire to is that comfortable, neutrally buoyant position, the diver position, where we're pretty much horizontal in the water and just able to glide along effortlessly. So why do so many people learn to dive kneeling down? If you're already a scuba diver, no doubt you'll have learned to dive on your knees. I know I was. We performed a whole load of skills, we learnt them all, either in a nice sand patch or in a pool. We then went out onto open water dives, beautiful ocean locations, and we dropped down either onto a platform or another sand patch, and we performed the skills again. We repeated them again for our instructors. And then we went off to explore the dive sites. Of course, we couldn't stay kneeling down, and we kept drifting up. So our instructors added a whole load of extra weight to us to make sure that we stayed down on the bottom. Or we had an assistant holding onto our tanks, making sure that we stayed nailed to the bottom. I don't know about you, but that's not how I imagined learning to dive was going to be. The irony is that once we've been taught to kneel, to breathe, and to perform like performing seals, you're then expected to go off and dive like you imagined it would be. Dive in that horizontal position, dive effortlessly. No, can't do that? Really? Let me sell you another course, Peak Performance Buoyancy, which means that we can fix all of your kneeling down and overweighted issues and help you to unlearn all of those bad habits that we first taught you. So why do people teach skills on their knees? It's got nothing to do with teaching you to dive and everything to do with control. Controlling you in the water. Control where you are, control how you move, and control what you're seeing too. The idea being that as an instructor, if I've got you pinned to the bottom, I've got a lot of control over the situation and the environment that we're in. I can deliver quicker training, but more importantly, I can have more students, which of course means more dollars. So the benefit of learning kneeling down is definitely for the benefit of the instructor and not the benefit of you, the student. But is this what you want? You. Bigger classes, everybody kneeling down in semicircles, performing skills in an unnatural position, and then expected to just figure out the horizontal bit later, just down the line somewhere. Or is there an alternative? Well, of course there is. There's always an alternative. Otherwise, this would have been a very short video. It's called Teaching Neutrally Buoyant. All of the major training agencies have been talking for several years now about the idea of teaching our new open water students neutrally buoyant, which is in effect teaching them good habits from day one. So if you're not being taught neutrally buoyant, then your instructor is not following the latest guidelines from PADI, from NAUI, from SSI, from RAID, from SDI, from anybody else who's out there, because they're all looking at promoting neutrally buoyant teaching and buoyant learning. So you should be asking the question, why is your instructor not following the recommended guidelines? Now, when I teach open water, and I will admit for the purposes of this video, we do have an experienced diver assisting us with the shots, but when I teach an open water course, I'll start off on our knees for the very first session of the very first day in confined water. And I'm doing this because primarily what I'm looking for is for the participant, for the student, just to get comfortable breathing. Just to get comfortable taking the regulator out of their mouth and just to get comfortable putting a little bit of water in their mask and clearing it. We're in such shallow water, it's shallow enough that we can just stand up. The buoyancy control would be challenging in that, but more importantly, buoyancy control would be task loading, and I don't want to do it. But from confined water session 2, the first skill we teach is neutral buoyancy. Some people may know this as the fin pivot. It's what we used to call it years ago. But it's neutral buoyancy. The idea being is that you as a participant learn what that weightless feeling is like, and that as you inhale you rise and as you exhale you fall, and you can control that rising and falling as you inhale and exhale. But for many instructors, Once you've demonstrated that you can master the fin pivot or the neutral buoyancy, they'll give you a high five, they'll tell you well done, and they'll get you back on your knees. Why? Why not have you perform the fin pivot, stay in that neutrally buoyant position with your fin tips just touching the ground, and learn the rest of your skills whilst maintaining that neutral buoyancy? From this position, I can demonstrate the skills, I can control what you're doing, and we can move forward through all of the relevant elements of confined water training session number 2. As I move into confined water training session number 3, we introduced hover. Well, instead of hover in an upright position or holding onto fin tips, why don't we teach hover in the diving position, where we introduce the concept of trim and correct weighting. After we've introduced the hover in a diving position, we can then carry on the skills: remove and replace mask, no mask swim, Caesar, all the other skills that come in an open water, confined water session, teaching them neutrally buoyant. It's not that hard. It means that you're learning good diving habits from day one. When we're out in open water, we're on our open water training dives. My mindset is not find a sand patch. My mindset is, as we descend into the bottom, we immediately start our dive. That means as we're descending, whether it's controlled using a line, whether it's visual reference, or whether it's free descent, we're going to descend down to the line, control our descent before we hit the bottom, and then go off and start swimming, go off and start exploring. And then when I want you to perform a skill, because you've already mastered the skill in confined water, I'm going to turn to you and say, you, take your mask off and put it back on again. And show me. I'm going to be close enough to you that I can provide immediate assistance in the event that something gets out of control or something you're not happy with. But you're going to perform those skills in the way we as divers do. I don't, when I get water in my mask or have to take my mask off, look for a sand patch so that I can drop down onto my knees to take it off. I just take it off whilst I'm swimming. I get a good reference of where I am, take it off, do what I need to do, put it back on and carry on my dive. And that's what we need to teach from day one. So why doesn't everyone teach like this? Well, as I said, it's primarily down to control. Making it easier for an instructor to control you in the water, which in turn makes it safer for them, as it means they can take more students in the water. And whilst from an instructor's perspective, it is harder to teach students neutrally buoyant, it means they can't take as many students in the water. And as an instructor, when I have students who are neutrally buoyant and learning neutrally buoyant, I do have to have my wits about me a lot more. The important thing from my perspective is that as an instructor, as a dive professional, I'm wanting to teach you how to dive, not how to take a knee.
Well, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell icon if you'd like to get more notifications on our new content.